In the job for South Yorkshire's new mayor, Oliver Coppard. He was announced the winner on Friday with 143,476 votes. The Conservative candidate, Clive Watkinson, came second with just over 57,000 votes. Oliver Coppard, the mayor, joins me now in the studio. Oliver, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in this morning.
Pleasure.
I mean, first things first, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm incredibly proud. This is my home. It's where I was born and raised. I've just cycled in this morning past the bus stop I used to get to school, the road I grew up on. So, yeah, it's a really lovely morning for me personally.
No, I can imagine. And a resounding victory, as I think we all knew it would be. Think about South Yorkshire over the past 20 or 30 years, though, there has been a change. There's now 60,000 people voted Conservative in that election. You have a broad church of people to look after these days, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been elected as the Mayor of South Yorkshire, not as the Labour Party's Mayor of South Yorkshire. So my job is to get on with kind of working on behalf of everybody who lives across the whole of the region. There's 1.4 million of us. We've got to crack on, get on with the job, make sure that we're the best possible place we can be.
And the reason I made the point is I wonder how important that is. When obviously not apolitical, you're a Labour Mayor, but you know the region needs to move forward, doesn't it? Not the party in the region.
Yeah, absolutely. Like fundamentally, this is about South Yorkshire. This is about the kids that are growing up today. It's about the people who live in our communities, the people listening to this on the bus or waiting for the bus, more likely on their way into work. So this morning, the first thing that I'm going to do is be writing to Boris Johnson and say, look, let's get on with the job of so-called levelling up. You want to do that, so do I. Let's be partners in that ambition. I'm going to call you out when you don't deliver for our communities, but work with you when you do. And I think that's the job of the mayor.
Well, let's talk about the job of the mayor, shall we? Because, of course, the first time that anybody had to do it was Dan Jarvis. And it's fair to say, I think, that when Dan went into the mayoralty, I'm not entirely sure I knew what he was doing. I'm not entirely sure he knew what I don't think any of us really knew what the job was.
No, indeed.
And I think the rules did change a little bit through his mayoralty. But I'm still not entirely certain. This isn't Andy Burnham, is it? He's not the PCSO as well.
No, one of the challenges with the mayors that were set up initially by George Osborne and that government were that the deals were done differently. So the deal in South Yorkshire is slightly different to the deal in North Tyne, the deal in Manchester, the deal in West Yorkshire. So we have here the powers to control the buses, the public transport network. There's some powers over housing, inward investment, economic growth is a big part of the mayor's job, adult skills, things like that. And there's obviously then the soft power element of the job too, in terms of kind of convening, bringing people around a table and fixing problems that come up on a day-to-day basis.
So what's different, say, between you and, say, Andy Burnham or Steve Rotherham?
Yeah, so Andy Burnham has got things like, for instance, the Police and Crime Commissioner role. It rolled into his job. He's also got some more control over, it's not formally his job, it's devolved to the region, health and social care. So he's got more of those things inherent in his role. In South Yorkshire, we're going to be pushing for more powers, more control. I've already said things like devolved housing budgets should be something that are given to the mayor in South Yorkshire. Post-16 skills, there's a whole raft of areas where we want to look at bringing more control in the region because we're the ones who know best how to fix the problems here.
And devolution should be devolution, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we should be in control of our own future. I said throughout the campaign that the challenge for me, or the problem for me, this whole conversation around devolution revolves around the question, what are the government going to give away to us? Like, what are they prepared to give away? And it's the wrong question. The question should be, what do we want for our future? What do people in South Yorkshire, in our communities, want for jobs, for growth, for net zero climate? What do we want? How do we want to attack and challenge those problems that we have here in our region? And we should be the ones in the driving seat. So when I talk to Boris Johnson, when I write that letter today, I will be saying those very things. We need to be in charge of our own future because we know how to take advantage of those huge opportunities in front of us across the region, but also how to challenge those fairly sort of systemic problems that we've got across the region.
And it's a timely thing, levelling up, isn't it? And it's never has it felt more front and centre. Tonight, I think Panorama have been filming in Barnsley. I see Chris Mason just sent me a message asking if I wanted to talk to him after 10 o'clock today about what they've done in Barnsley about the levelling up, or indeed the lack of.
Yeah.
And we do know, as somebody who just spent the weekend in London, where the bus service is like a taxi service compared to what we've got around here. You know, I physically can't get to work for 6 o'clock in the morning by public transport. There are big bridges to cross, aren't there?
There's a huge challenge. I mean, the government, I applaud their ambition. You know, there is a huge challenge to level up this country in their language. You know, devolution gives us potentially that opportunity, but they said in their levelling up white paper that they wanted to achieve a set of 12 missions by 2030. That was their ambition. That's in their words. There are 400 weeks this week until 2030, and in that time we have to challenge some of those problems that we have here. We have to overcome some of those problems, but those problems are huge. So when you look at things like, for instance, the buses, passenger numbers have declined by about 60% since we went into a privatised bus system. In London, they've actually gone up. If you look at the train service, we've got a train that goes to Manchester in 52, 56 minutes. That's the same amount of time it took in 1954. Meanwhile, the government have spent £18.5 billion on Crossrail, getting people across London a bit more quickly. We've got a load of problems, a load of challenges. The government have said themselves they want to level up this country. Then put your money where your mouth is. Let's go. Enough is enough.
I once had to do, I think it was Newcastle to Manchester by train, and that was 3.5 hours, and I had to change at York.
Yeah.
I mean, how can that be between two big cities?
I mean,
that can't be right.
It's just, you're right. It's not okay. This is just not okay for us and our communities, and it wouldn't be okay in the South East. It shouldn't be okay in South Yorkshire. We need the government to understand that our challenges are their challenges. They are not the government of just the South East. They are the government of the whole country. I'm going to lead that charge over the next 4 years, and I need the government to be a partner in those ambitions. So I will work with them wherever I can, but like I say, I will call them out when they're not doing their job.
To lead that charge, do you need to be more visible maybe than Dan Jarvis was as a mayor? We had I know, turnouts are never great, but it was a 24% turnout or something, like 26% turnout.
Yeah, turnout went up slightly.
Yeah, 76% of people then didn't engage. People need to know more about the mayor, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely they do. They need to see the mayor as a big job, a job that affects their lives, their communities, the way of life here in our region. So my job is to go out there and show people why it's important that they engage with what we do through the Mayoral Combined Authority. I want to make sure that we are positively impacting on people's lives day to day and that people can see that benefit. And I think if we do that, then in 4 years' time, hopefully we'll see turnout go up.
What is the day-to-day then? You where have you based? What kind of team have you got? That kind of thing. Yeah. Dan Jarvis was based.
It's just down the road. It's opposite Ponds Forge in Sheffield.
Oh, right.
So we're going in there in a moment. Figuring out the Wi-Fi. We have to make a cup of coffee. So that's day one. And then getting on with like I say, contacting the government, making sure that they're aware that we want to kind of level up this country just like they do, and that we need investment power support here in our region.
What's the kind of team around you?
Day to day, there are about 300 staff that work at the Mayoral Combined Authority. They've just got incorporated the PT, the Passenger Transport Executive, into the role, so into the organisation. So there are 300 people there. There's a core team, an exec team, and you're working closely day to day with the leaders of the 4 local authorities across the region. So the job is to manage that, and then obviously, like I say, kind of figure out how we're going to move our region forward.
Lovely stuff. Obviously, the buses are a priority, and they do have to be. Like I say, I appreciate I start work earlier than most, but I don't start in the middle of the night. At 6 o'clock we're on air, and I can't get the 9 miles from my house to here before 5:30. Which, to say it's a city built on shift work, you'd think that would be possible. So obviously the public transport is a big priority. What else?
Well, there are a huge number of kind of issues, challenges, opportunities in front of us. So, for instance, like net zero. We've said we have an ambition to get to net zero by 2040. That is incredibly soon, actually, when you think about the scale of the challenge. So what we have to do, and what I've said I will do, is bring together what's called a citizens' assembly, kind of a representative group of people from across the region, alongside policy experts, to figure out our path to net zero. How are we going to get there? What are the things we want to prioritise, focus on? How do we want to do that? So that's a big challenge for the next 4 years. We've got to make sure that we build a better economy, not just a bigger economy. So that's better jobs in different, more advanced sectors, so advanced manufacturing, green technologies, digital, those sorts of things. And then things like, for instance, the cultural sector, so making sure that we are showing off to the world the sort of fantastic place that South Yorkshire is. So there's a load of things to get on with. There's going to be no shortage of things for me to spend my day doing.
No shortage of things for me to doing. What about shortage of money to do it with? Where does that come from?
I think I'd be lying. I think I'd be lying if I said I didn't immediately want a fair bit more investment in South Yorkshire, and that I think is the challenge, to get that money out of government and to make sure that they understand that that they have to deliver for us if we are to deliver for our communities. So yes, we want to kind of be in charge of that, and I don't think there's any reason why we can't be, but we do need more investment. We just put in a bid for £435 million to the government a couple of weeks ago that they turned down and didn't give us a single penny, and that was to improve the buses. If they're serious about levelling up, if they're serious about improving the public transport network, as they said they were in their own levelling up white paper, then frankly they should be delivering that investment to our region.
What do you see the region benefiting from? You mentioned new jobs, because we've got a fantastic advanced manufacturing park down here.
Yeah.
Culturally, we have a great offer anyway. I mean, the biggest theatre complex outside London, right here in the middle of Sheffield. What about things like tourism? What about the kind of softer sells that, as we move forward as a nation, people are going to have more free time, I think. What about looking at the way that we can bring people into South Yorkshire?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's absolutely no reason why we can't be an incredibly attractive destination for all sorts of people, not just from across the country, but from across the world. If you look at the fantastic things that we've got, not just the theatre complex, if you look at, for instance, we just had the World Championships of snooker, the Wimbledon of snooker.
UA's coming.
Here, exactly. Here in Sheffield, a bunch more besides Wentworth, Woodhouse, Cannon Hall, you name it. We've got a huge amount of talent, opportunity, creativity across the region, and we want the world to see that. So we will be putting in a bid at some point in the next 4 years to be City of Culture, a regional bid to be City of Culture, and showing off to the world that we want what we want them to see. Like, there is a problem there though, because again, in terms of kind of the amount of money investment that we get, Arts Council England don't give us enough money. They've given us a bit more recently, but we want more from those big arts organisations, Heritage Lottery Fund and others, to invest in our region so we can do some of that work and make sure, like I say, that we're showing off, frankly.
Here's the question that we're rerunning 4 years' time to see if you've cocked up or not. When it gets to the next election, what kind of South Yorkshire do you think you'll have created in the last 4 years?
I said throughout the campaign, look, it's a slogan, and so forgive me, but I said we wanted to rebuild the pride, the purpose, and the prosperity of the region, and that is fundamentally what I want to try and do. We're an incredibly proud place, and so we should be. We once had industries that were the basis of that pride, and they have gone now largely, although we are replacing those with some fantastic organisations and other industries. And like you say, advanced manufacturing is one of those big growth areas for us. We have world leading facilities here in the region. We've got the biggest hydrogen producer in the world. We could be the Gulf of hydrogen. So in those sorts of ways we can deliver that pride for people. If we do that and understand our place in the world, then there's no reason why we can't bring that prosperity into the region and get people to be better off here too. So those are all the sorts of things I'm going to be focusing on the next 4 years, and I look forward to hearing this clip being played back.
Absolutely.
To me in 2026.
In 2026, we'll be sat here, the sun will be shining, everyone will be
My hairline will be further back.
And we'll all come to work on the bus.
Absolutely.
Sounds perfect to me. We're not going to have to leave that long, because I understand we are talking, we have asked about whether you'll come and be a regular face in a way that I think we understand why Dan Jarvis couldn't, because obviously he had 2 jobs. I think there's more substance to the position you've got now, and hopefully, you are going to be much more time in the patch than Dan was able to because of his MP's job.
Yeah, sorry. I think it's absolutely right. Look, I owe a debt of gratitude. We owe a debt of gratitude to Dan Jarvis. He put an incredible amount of work to get the deal over the line, create this platform which we can now build on. I've got the opportunity to build on. And so, Dan Jarvis is, today going back to that full-time job of being the MP for Barnsley Central. But I think as a region, we owe him a debt of gratitude for putting that work in. I want to make sure I'm more visible, more available. I said I want to be the most transparent and accountable mayor in the country. So, yeah, I look forward to coming in and talking to you on a much more regular basis.
We look forward to that too. Dan, he constantly tells me off, but we do know that he's giving up so he can become leader of the Labour Party, don't we? We do know that's the case. He won't admit it, but you can tell me if you want.
Look, the job is filled. Dan's not given me any word that that's what he's going to do.
He definitely is. Thanks very much indeed for coming here on your first day, on your way to work. Have a good day at work. And